Welcome. What does it take to break boundaries, to challenge societal norms, and to create meaningful change? How do courage, technology, and collaboration come together to reshape the future? Today, we explore these questions with a truly inspiring guest who's redefining what it means to lead with purpose. Dr. Neda Maria Kaizumi is a boundary breaker in every sense of the word. Born and raised in Iran, she's a woman who's never been afraid to confront uncomfortable truths or challenge the status quo. With a deep passion for innovation and a relentless drive to create impact, Neda has spent her life blending courage, creativity, and technology to tackle some of society's most pressing issues. Her journey is one of resilience and determination, from breaking cultural stereotypes to reshaping industries and fostering inclusive futures. Neda believes in owning your narrative, using your voice as your power, and seeing courage as a skill to be practiced daily. Whether she's transforming workplace cultures or advocating for cutting edge solutions, her approach is always rooted in collaboration and action. A thought leader, author, and speaker, Neda inspires others and us to embrace our potential, challenge norms, and drive meaningful change. So join us as we dive into her story and uncover the lessons that have shaped her into the boundary breaker she is today. Welcome, Neda. It's such an honor to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. We have a little bit of bad weather, but a lot of us are used to that. Here it's a little bit worse than normally, but for the rest, I'm fine and I'm thrilled to be here with you and your radiance that is making up for all the bad weather conditions we have. Let us start with the question I ask always. Why do you consider yourself a boundary breaker? Why is that?
If I can summarize that, is that I'm a person who embraces change. And unless you embrace change and do something with it and be brave enough to stand against the wind, you will not be a boundary breaker. And since
Mhm.
I'm born in a Muslim country where hijab has been mandatory and I've been forced and abused by all kind of regulations, I decided to stand on my feet and I say that I will have a voice. I will make a change in whatever I want to do. And even though that in Iran, it's not allowed that for women to get so much high profile, especially if they are against the norms that it's in the society. I stand and I moved out and I experienced a lot of like mysteries, power marking with all my colleagues. I've been with a lot of man colleagues in the same room where they try to do everything to show their power and say that they have the last word, but I stand all the time and I did a lot of changes. One of the cute changes that I did was that when I came to the construction industry, I realized that there is no safety pants for all women who are pregnant. And nobody even had thought about it. But it was interesting because in 2017, I took contact with one of our vendors and we started to look at into the case. And in end of 2018, we already have safety pants for pregnant women who are working in construction industry. So my encouragement to everyone is that seek things that doesn't exist. And if you want to change the norm for future, make sure you stand on it and help others to see the points and stand with you and drive this toward a better society and life.
This is like in 2 minutes, your whole track, which is, of course, we could spend hours, but I would like to wind back to when you decided that you have a voice and that you wanted to use that voice. And you could obviously not do that in Iran in a safe way. Basically, there's a couple of things there. There's you having a vision of what it is and who you want to be and how you want to show up and how you want to impact the world. And then it is about living that vision and decide what it is for you to be free, what it is for you to be successful. How difficult was it to do that? Because you make it sound very easy, but I believe that there were a lot of steps and a lot of probably things that you had to let go of and a lot of new skills you had to develop, and probably also a lot of fears you had to overcome.
Exactly. One of the simple principles in my life that I have learned has been when you encounter a challenge, there are three ways for you. The first thing is that you can change it and you do that. You disagree with your colleague and you say something to fix that, and then you are hurt and they try to do that. The other thing is you don't, excuse me, you are not able to change it, but you accept the way it is. And in some cases, a lot of us, it can be in relationship, it can be in work, it can be in encountering problems with our children, and a lot of other things with neighbors. You can't really change the situation, but you say, okay, now I have evaluated and it's acceptable for me. And the third
Mhm.
thing, which will bring you to the boundary breaker, is that when you see that you can't accept it and you can't bear with it, then it's time to change it. And so you really change and do something with it, or you leave it. When it comes to my country that I born in, Iran, I tried all my best. And one of the bad experiences that I had when I had my nail color, because I'm a person going with nail color like every other woman, and I had it since I was 18. And the civil police didn't want me to have it, so they put my hands in a very big bag of cockroaches for about 15 minutes. And imagine I was 18 years old at that age. So I decided, okay, they're going to torture me and they're going to kill me. So is that worth that I die in this country for nothing? Because I have a lot of talents and God has given me a lot of resources, so why shouldn't I use it? So I decided to leave the country because that was not acceptable and I couldn't change it. I decided to leave. And I left the country and I said, anywhere else I can stand, I will stand and I will do some changes. And even in right before Corona or COVID, when it came, I saw that the world is changed rapidly. Everybody's talking about technology, talking about AI. People are into computational algorithm and a lot of other things. And I was thinking, okay, I'm only 44. I don't hang on with it, with everything people are saying. So I decided to change this in myself. I said, I'm going to change this. So I started to study in Harvard Business School. And when I graduated and came with AI, so a lot of things has been rapidly changing my life. From week to week, I have new customers, I have new business products. Things happen so quickly these days. And again, you
Mhm.
should be willing to see the changes, see that you can support it, see that you can be a positive thing for it, and then do the change and let it just happen. Don't resist, because if you're not a change person, you lose it.
A lot of us see changes as threats, right? We have to come out of our comfort zone. We have to learn new things. Changes as opportunities. So, where's the shift? What is it that makes you see things differently?
If, any fear comes from inner person. It's that you have gone through a lot of trauma in your life that you always flash back and say, what if? So I'm not willing to do these changes. And I tell you that a lot of bad things happen in our life, of course, because we are in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's one aspect of it. But also the attitude that we have will impact a lot of these fears. So it's just, okay, I'm going to decide this time that I don't go through the last experience anymore and I will change it. And even if bad things happen, it's nobody's fault. It's just because it happened. So next time I'm going to learn from this. So any experience that you go through, you should learn from it. You should reflect back. You should learn and get the lesson learned to your next experience. I think if you
Mhm.
don't, everybody lives only once. And even though you live every day, that every day is part of once. Life is given you to you once. And I have decided that as long as I live, and that is every day, I'm going to do all my best to turn this day by day even a better day. And once I
Mhm.
die, then I'm going to lie down and I'm going to spend my time to rest because that's the time to rest. Otherwise, I'm going to live and enjoy every moment.
Mm, that's beautiful. You know, Nida, a lot of us are told that if we choose our own way, if we create our own life, if we really design our life, that it's selfish because we leave some people, we might leave, you probably had to do, you leave family, behind, you might have leave friends behind, responsibilities, things like that. So how do you look at those things? How do you look at choosing for yourself and choosing to be responsible for the definition of success on your terms, for really designing the life that you want?
Life is not summarized only in the people who are around you, because this world has over billion to 3 billions of people around, and regardless of who are you ministering to anytime, then you are doing something positive for this world. Of course, I'm not around my mom, so I may not be able to take her around to the doctor, or my sister when she's sick to be there for her. But I'm confident that my resources is used for all those people around me. Wherever I go, I look at that like a new opportunity to minister to people around me. That can be new friends, that can be neighbors, that can be my colleagues. God put you somewhere to minister to people around you. And if He has a plan for you, so you just have to obey. I'm kind of a charismatic person, so I follow what the Lord is telling me to do. But I think that has given me the joy, because I will minister my sick neighbor because I know that God is sending an angel to minister to my sister who is sick. So looking life in that aspect, you always think that you're a winner, you're not losing anything, and you're doing a positive change in this world. And it's, if you look at karma or charismatic aspect, whatever, when you do good, good things happen to you, and it's a continuous spiral that is going on.
Yeah. How has your education contributed to who you are right now? Do you come from a family where it was really encouraged to have your own vision, to have your own opinion, or was it the other way? Is that something that has impacted how you look at life right now?
My family has been interesting because they always told me that you don't ask, you don't challenge any teacher, you don't challenge anything that is said, you just accept it. And I had learned that until I was 22. I was following that. But once I came out, and in Iran, the university was the same. When I got my bachelor degree, it was the same. You're not going to challenge the professor, and you do whatever he says. But when I came out, I decided to learn about critical thinking. And I think what I have learned from critical thinking is invaluable. I have learned dramatically a lot, that even though you are getting the best package presented to you, you still can use the critical thinking to see the risk and opportunities around that, whatever that is presented to you. And with that, you can even take one step further, and that will actually open your minds to change. Because change, if you don't understand what is the reason behind the change, it's very difficult to accept it. But critical thinking will encourage you to get the explanation around the change, and that will make the change much more acceptable. So I highly recommend that people start do critical thinking, even with yourself. When you're offering something good to someone, put yourself in someone's shoes and do critical thinking. Why this person is giving me this gift? Why is person so nice to me? You should always give some room for some questions, right? So make sure you do
Mhm.
that, because doing that will encourage you to move ahead with the change.
Yeah. So for you, critical thinking is also not assuming, asking more questions, digging deeper, not taking everything for granted, and having the conversation either with yourself or with the other person if there's other people involved, in order to gather more information, more data, to make sure that what is done is the correct thing for you in that situation, in that setting. Is that correct?
Exactly. And this curiosity is part of the critical thinking, and also not be prejudiced and judge people in advance. When you're doing critical thinking, you're just lifting up whatever thoughts that has come to your mind. So don't start with a closed question that, okay, I'm asking this to take him or take her. That's not the point. That's not critical thinking. If you want to do critical thinking, you have open-end questions and let people to answer and help your mind to develop some other thoughts around it. So that will be helpful. That's exactly what you're saying. Being curious is part of critical
Yeah.
thinking.
I really that because sometimes critical thinking is confused with judgment. It's about no, it will be this. No, I have to distrust that. It's not about distrust. It is about trusting your the conversation that you have basically with yourself or with somebody else, which is a big difference, right?
Exactly. And one thing is important to note that there is always some deviation. So maybe the norms say that if that person is doing this and that person can mean, but they always give the benefit of doubt because you never know the explanation behind. And always be open, say, maybe I don't understand, maybe I don't get it, but can you explain? Can you help me to understand? These are always questions that I raise, and I think they are very helpful in critical thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, they also show very good leadership skills. And it's like the feminine leadership skills that you are mentioning there in terms of curiosity, non-judgment, inclusion, having the conversation open. These are things that are extremely important. I see so many things happening in organizations, but also in politics in countries where it's like the win or lose, the yes or no, the go or not go with it without even talking, because sometimes we have the feeling that there's no time and it has to go fast and it has to be quick and it has to be, they even say quick and dirty. It doesn't have to be like that. And we can win a lot and we can also win a lot of time
Exactly.
if we deal with challenges, with change, with interactions in a different way. So absolutely, I absolutely agree with what you say there. Yeah. So, do you have a role model or do you have role models, people that you learned from at these critical moments in your life where you say, okay, I'm not going to accept this. I am going to remove myself from this situation. And where you say you change, you accept, or you remove. Did you have role models that encouraged you, that inspired you to do?
I do have a lot of role models. It depends. When I want to do fashion, for example, and I came, okay, this person is a kind of a person of integrity, so I want to go with the type of outfit that person has. And then when it comes to type of a speech, then maybe that person is not very nice suit, and I change another person and see, okay, this politician maybe is a good one to speech. I don't agree with the thoughts. By the way, I pick different role models for different matters, and I usually go with very high profile people because I always dream big. It's not that, and I've never, at least I have this competition stuff inside of me that, okay, let's say that I'm comparing politician thoughts. Let's say in Norway, we had Erna Solberg, who has been our prime minister. I always like the way she speaks. And she has been a nice prime minister. I don't agree with the politics though, but I always try to say, I want to be her and even better in way of speaking and encouraging
Yeah.
and inclusion. So I always want to be the person that I pick, and even better that make a little flavor of authenticity. So I can make my own version of it. But I think probably it's better. It's not necessary that people convince the same way, but at least.
I like that a lot. Role models are so important, and sometimes it's really difficult to understand the relevance of role models or to find some. And I think your solution, deciding which person you use as a role model for something that you want to achieve or you want to become, and really focusing on that, and so have different role models for different aspects in your growth or in your life, is a very clever idea. I like that. I really like that. And when you say I dream big,
Yeah, I
I
do.
also like that, because this is something that I see with a lot of women. We are afraid to dream big, right? We are like raised to be nice and to be calm and not to create too much noise and not to create too much discomfort in the settings as they have always been. And so we tend to adapt to what is expected from us, or we tend to dream at the level that we can see the steps on how we do it. And when I work with women when I hear you, then I say, no, you can dream big. Absolutely. It is. And it's not about being ambitious, because that's another word that we don't like to hear and that we do not like to relate with women. But it is about achievement. How do you want to show up in life? What do you want to achieve in life? What legacy do you want to bring? And so you don't have to have all the answers when you start to create that vision, when you start to create that achievement path, you don't have to know every step that you will take. It's just you just have to know the first steps, and then find your role models and find your community of support and just move, because you will grow and get smarter every step you
Exactly.
take, right? And you
Exactly.
will build confidence with every achievement and with every success that you make. And so I love that vision of dreaming big, absolutely. And I cannot stress enough how important it is, not only for ourselves, but also for our daughters, also for the women in our teams. I would say for everybody in our teams and for the whole community. It is about dreaming big and dreaming positive and see the possibilities and the opportunities.
Exactly,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I like in 2020, I was in Silicon Valley in Facebook office, which I was inspired actually to change to tech from HSE and quality board. And when I came home and I said, okay, now you have this dream. How do you make it? And I said, okay, then apparently I'm in the wrong environment because all my network is about is not about technology. If I want to go to a tech company, I need to change my network. I need to change my knowledge. I need to be able to contribute and say something in this field. So I start making plan for different things. And it's not only one plan, but you need to develop several plans simultaneously. You need to have a new network, you need to attend new conferences, you need to learn new things, you need to learn Python, R, AI, and all this stuff. And that's how I actually ended up in Harvard. And there you start finding your way once you enter to this. You will never find your way if you're standing in front of 10 ways and say, okay, which one I'm going to take. After 10 years, you're still in the same place. You're not going to change anything. You need to step on the way and stay firm when the wind is coming, because there's
Yeah.
always windy, there's always up and downs, but don't give up. If you plan it, you're going to make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I read recently that, like you said, life is full of opportunities and possibilities. And if you make choices, there might be 10 different ways to do. And like you say, if you just stand there in the beginning of these 10 ways, you might be overwhelmed or you might be afraid to make the wrong choice. And there they said, whatever choice you make, if it is a determined choice and if you're planning to go there, take the one that you feel will give you most joy, because every choice is a good one. As long as you make it, as long as you move forward, as long as you continue to go to your dream or your vision or your aspiration, every path will bring you the good things and the bad things. So just make sure that you have joy in it and learn from every step, but just make that first step, like you say.
Exactly. And flashback to your childhood, because none of us has been learned to run before we fall down at least 100 times. So remember
Exactly.
that when you fall, it's not the end of the world. It's time to get up and learn how did you fall so next time you don't fall. So that's how
Yeah.
I live actually. I constantly look at it, and sometimes when you enter a way, it's a totally wrong way. But that's fine. You have learned from it, then you will go into another way which is actually more suitable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's about building resilience. And then the next level, what I call strategic agility, it is about being able to bounce back, being able to go around it, or making these three choices: accept, remove, or change, depending on what is possible. And continue doing these things. It is absolutely important to build that agility muscle and that resilience muscle in order not only to bounce back, because we don't have to have things in our face every time. We can just also build the resilience to say, no, I learned from this, I go around it, or I take another direction. I go, instead of going straight, I now go to the right side because there's another option there that suits me better, or that aligns better with my new insights, because
Exactly.
life is changing, the world is changing, and we are also changing whether we want it or not. If we don't change, we are dead.
But one of the important things to mention here that when I talk with my clients and they fail, they start blaming others. No one is taking blame for the thing that you are into it or you are responsible for. Other people might be faulty in whatever you do, but at the end of the day, it's your own responsibility to make it or
Uh-huh.
break it. So when things
Yeah.
happen that is not pleasant to you, okay, it's past is past. Don't reside in it. Just try to learn and move on. And that's how you actually get bigger and greater.
Yeah. Absolutely. One last advice, Nira, for the people listening or watching this episode. Women that are like at the verge of changing, at that want this transformation, but are still reluctant because there's forces holding them back. What would be like your most valuable advice for them to step into this definition of their own success and defining their own life?
I would say that there is always a way out there. Try to look at the door that is open and not keep looking at the doors that are closed. As a woman, you go through a lot of changes in your life. You're gonna marry that maybe that the marriage and most of the marriage are not the best relationships. You're gonna have to find your way out of it, not necessarily divorce, but find a way to live with the person and then focus on your own stuff. You're gonna have children at home, and the children will go through the youth and these teenager ages. That is beside your work, your home, everything. Try to tackle things one by one, and it's all okay if you handle things one at a time. If your focus is supposed to be at your teenager for next 3 years, do that. Make your priority, and then do the rest of the things. But make sure you always can do that. And then at the end, since we're all women and a lot of women is going to listen to this, I'm going to say that we women going through menopause and all this health issues that men are not even close to. So don't let that to put you down and hinder you from whatever you're going to do. I have gone through, I'm a cancer survivor, and I was very early age for menopause, but I didn't let anything to put me down, even though it has been really tough days that I couldn't wake up from the bed. But when I determine my goal, I decide to follow that. I really do. Don't deceive yourself, because that's the worst thing. If you follow your heart, you're going to be there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we don't have to do this alone. There's such a big community of support. There's so many resources, so many networks, so many coaches and consultants for whatever that you feel that you are struggling with. Talk about it. You are an example. I am an example. And we all know people that we can trust and that we can talk to and that we can find support. It's not a shame or a blame to ask for help and to ask for support. That's why we are here. Women that uplift each other create a better world. And that's also basically the whole purpose of the boundary breakers, to show that it is possible and to understand that you are not alone and you don't have to do this alone.
Exactly.
Sonira, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much also for sharing your insights and your story. And I know this is short, there's a lot more to say. So, anybody who is interested, reach out, connect with us, connect with Nira, and ask your questions. If you have anything that you want feedback on, just put it in the comment box below the show notes or below where you find this episode, and we will get back to you. As I said, you are not alone. We are here to support you. And thank you so much for staying with us, and hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Nira. You rock.
Thank you. Bye.